Yo, welcome to Trippy Commentaries and our WWE RAW reactions. Today's RAW came from Chicago, Illinois, one of the best cities, one of my favorites. And every time a wrestling event is held in Chicago, you know it's going to be a good one. Tonight's was certainly eventful. I thought Dean Ambrose was kind of the star of the show here.
Well, obviously, yes, they definitely pushed Dean Ambrose a lot. Obviously, being in Chicago, you're going to get a lot of CM Punk chants.
Right off the bat.
Which happened a lot, and the Authority played it off kind of nicely. And obviously, they really didn't like John Cena because, you know, CM Punk and John Cena were like
pretty bitter rivals
through their whole careers. So.
No doubt. I'm RJ, that was Retro Brett. Let's go ahead and jump into it. As you mentioned, the CM Punk chants started right off the bat. It was pretty interesting how you kind of alluded to, the Authority pretty much attacked him for doing so, saying, why would you be chanting for a quitter? Very interesting how the WWE is handling this. I think to this day, we here at Trippy Commentaries have completely given up on seeing CM Punk back in the WWE, which is a shame. He's one of the most exciting and really funnest wrestlers to watch. That's behind us now.
Well, stranger things have happened in this business.
Especially in the wrestling business.
But, I don't know, there's a lot of bad blood there right now. I think CM Punk's suing the WWE. I'm not sure for what, but he has a lawsuit out. So like I said, stranger things have happened and have happened. So
no doubt about it. Now the night started off, other than of course the Authority kind of bashing CM Punk a little bit there, with Paul Heyman coming out and talking about his client Brock Lesnar. Now this was an interesting take here, Retro Brett. Apparently, Lesnar is not happy about what transpired there at Night of Champions, where he did win, but it wasn't nearly as much of a whooping as it was there before in SummerSlam. And apparently, Paul Heyman has some unfinished business here with his client, Brock Lesnar.
Well, I don't know. That segment, or what happened at Night of Champions, kind of reminded me of Rocky 1, whereas, you know, Apollo Creed said, I beat him, but I didn't beat him, referring to Stallone, and Stallone being John Cena, you know. Lesnar beat him, but he didn't beat him.
Yeah.
As RJ said, Paul Heyman came out and was griping about his client. If his client really had a problem, he could come out and talk to the Authority himself.
Yeah.
Then he also said his client had a problem with what Seth Rollins did, and Seth Rollins kind of said, you know, hey, I understand where you're coming from, but I would think you, Paul Heyman, of all people, would know what I'm trying to do, make a name for myself,
of
create
course,
a career. And he said, you know, if I thought Seth Rollins was going to say, you know, if that offends you, good. I'm not sorry. But he actually did apologize. He nutted up a little bit. I would have said, you know, I'm not sorry. I did what I did, and, you know, I'm not sorry. But Seth Rollins kind of bowed a little bit and kind of went down on his knees there. But it was a good way to kick off Raw, I thought.
Yeah. Well, of course, you had the Authority coming out trying to it's almost like they're against Brock Lesnar at this point, because straight up Seth Rollins got a cheap shot in on Heyman with the Money in the Bank suitcase, which is getting rather dented up these days.
Yeah.
And some other stuff would be going on with that pretty later on in the night. Now Rollins came out with this thing where it wasn't his idea for the Authority to cash in that Money in the Bank against Lesnar, but it was basically something he did it on his own. So yes, Seth Rollins had the idea here.
He basically owned up. He said, "Don't blame the Authority. It was all me." And I definitely did not see him doing that, because he's always a little bitch.
Yeah, well,
And running away from everything, so.
no doubt. It's funny because what happened was Rollins, his angle was he didn't want to see Cena win the championship, and the crowd loved it. Like
Yeah,
you
being
said,
in CM Punk territory.
Yeah, CM Punk territory, not really the biggest John Cena fans there in Chi-Town. So the crowd loved that. They had to kind of wait for a second as the CM Punk chants got a little out of hand for a while there. Paul Heyman pretty much let it be known that Brock Lesnar, the champ, is not too happy right now. So we'll see what happens looking ahead. But we had some more events with Dean Ambrose as he stole the Money in the Bank briefcase, Retro Brett. Not the first time he's done this, but of course this time he made it more of a big deal. What did you think about the events here of Dean Ambrose being a knucklehead, taking the briefcase and trying to keep it from Mr. Money in the Bank himself?
Well, he seems like he's doing a pretty good job of that. As we'll find out later in the night, the Authority told some goons, which happened to be Jamie Noble and Joey Mercury.
Yep. Good to see them.
He told them, go find Dean Ambrose and bring back that briefcase by any means necessary. And there were a couple of backstage segments throughout the night.
One thing that was cool was when we saw Rollins backstage, how John Cena came out of nowhere and ambushed him.
Yep, well...
Which kind of confirms that Ambrose and Cena have somewhat of a team going on right now.
They've got to. I mean, they're both after the same guy.
Mm-hmm.
How can they not have somewhat of a team going?
I don't know if that was planned for the two of them together. Maybe Cena knew what Ambrose was doing and was kind of thinking, ooh, how about I come in here and jump Rollins when he least expects it. Probably maybe didn't have much to do with Ambrose's plan there to steal the Money in the Bank briefcase. But pretty interesting to see them both helping each other out there. Now, let's go ahead and talk about a match, Retro Brett. I think it's about that time.
Oh, yes.
And it was a hell of a match. They gave Chicago a great one.
The best match of the night, in my opinion.
It was a triple threat match here for the Intercontinental title. Dolph Ziggler taking on The Miz, taking on Cesaro. A great match, as you said. I thought it had things going on left and right, and Dolph Ziggler came out on top.
Oh, yes. Most of the shenanigans and the craziness that went on in this match involved Dolph Ziggler. Not much. Well, The Miz kind of got shoved up into Cesaro. Wait, no. Cesaro got shoved up into The Miz's nether regions, and that didn't do Miz any favors. But and then there was a couple other sweet moves that I remember that Dolph Ziggler performed.
Well, the one that I liked, of course, came towards the end of the match where he put The Miz in the figure four. But unfortunately, Cesaro kind of came over and broke it up right off the bat. But, of course, Ziggler super kicked The Miz, which another impressive move by an impressive wrestler. And this guy right here, Dolph Ziggler, retains. He has the title. And we were kind of worried that he was going to lose the belt. He looks dominant at this moment.
Yeah, he looks very innovative and dominant, and
especially in this match. Maybe, here's my question to you. We've seen a lot of Dolph Ziggler. We've seen him win the championship here. This was one of his best matches yet.
I feel that the more people involved in a match, obviously the less likely the champion is to retain.
Mm-hmm.
But the more opportunities for the champion as well, or for each participant involved, because Ziggler actually used, I think it was Cesaro's uppercut on Miz to pin the Miz.
Mm-hmm.
So he wouldn't have been able to do that if there wasn't a third person involved in that match.
Yeah, and I just thought Dolph Ziggler really looked like the best fighter here, which is saying a lot. Cesaro's impressive in his own right. The Miz, whatever. But Dolph Ziggler looked like the best fighter here, and he dominated the match. We got a pretty interesting video from Bray Wyatt, and he was pushing Luke Harper. I really like both of the Wyatt followers. They're both huge guys.
Yeah,
This could be a clue that maybe we'll see Luke Harper come out and fight singles matches and maybe possibly even win a title here. Do something.
I think that's a pretty good indication there.
Mm-hmm.
So, this one of another video showed later in the night
Mm-hmm.
of this pretty much the same thing. He said different stuff, but
Yeah.
pushing Luke Harper. What was that, RJ?
I was just gonna say we had a little Divas action here, of course, with the Divas show.
You know how I like the Divas.
Oh yeah, fantastic!
Layla versus Rosa.
Congratulations, Layla. She wins. But getting back to the Dean Ambrose situation here, he brought the briefcase out into the ring, and he had a mic, of course,
That was a pretty cool
and
segment.
pretty much went on to entertain the crowd here. You had the two goons come in, try to take it. They wanted no part of Dean Ambrose, which was interesting. You think they could maybe take him 2-on-1.
You know, strength in numbers, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I really liked the segment. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, Dean Ambrose ended up giving out a ton of free T-shirts. I wish I grabbed one of those. Those WWE shirts are pretty nice.
Yeah, he said he was selling $20 items for like a quarter, and actually he ended up giving them away. And then like Jamie Noble and Joey Mercury came out, and they actually didn't want any part of Dean Ambrose. But then Seth Rollins came out, and Ambrose was like, "Look, I don't want any trouble. Backing away from the briefcase. You take it. I'm sorry that I ever took it."
Mm-hmm.
And then what happened to Seth Rollins there?
Well, he opened it up slowly. I don't know if you noticed, Retro Brett, but when he opened it up, he was looking the other direction. You could see some sort of gizmo in there. Some sort of mechanism was about to go down. And kind of going back to the old school Nickelodeon. I kind of grew up in that area with the gack and the slime. I think that's what happened to old Seth Rollins. It was like an old episode of Slime Time Live as he got... for lack of a better word, splooged on here in the face with this green substance. Seth Rollins pulled it off as far as making it look hilarious, as did Dean Ambrose. He looked like he didn't see it coming, but then he had this great grin on his face. Dean Ambrose is turning into the man all of a sudden. And this was a feud me and you had back a year ago where, you know, I remember I had to get you in an ankle lock. You put me in the sleeper hold. I was passed out for 2 hours because you were pro Seth Rollins. I was pro Dean Rollins. Here we are to this day. These guys are actually duking it out for real rather than just being brothers of the Shield.
Well, I actually don't recall that match. You know how abysmal my memory can be sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, when you put me in the sleeper?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. You'd think I would be the one not to remember it, as I was passed out for 2 hours and I woke up in some dark place with
dungeon.
Yeah, nothing, no food. No sort of furniture, no bed,
no nothing.
So I had to escape. Good thing I watched Shawshank Redemption all those times. I figured out a plan and got the hell out of there. And because of that, I'm here today to...
Channeled your inner MacGyver, did you?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm here to record Raw reactions with you tonight, Retro Brett. Enough of the small talk. Let's continue. As I thought, one more thing we got to mention with this whole suitcase thing is I like how in the back... the briefcase started to vibrate. Rollins thought it might have been an electric razor, but...
No, he said it was an electric razor because he's put some personal items in the suitcase, but it didn't sound like an electric razor.
It sounded like something else.
Perhaps we'll leave you to figure out what that would be.
Yeah, well, I'm guessing it's one of Stephanie's personal items, but let's move on. Props to Bo Dallas for defeating Mark Henry tonight, Retro Brett.
Wow, yeah, that's a mismatch, but I think they're doing a storyline going along the lines of Mark Henry's down on his luck and everything like that.
I couldn't believe Bo Dallas won this match, and it's like Mark Henry all of a sudden can't win anything.
Well, like I said, I think they're going with the storyline like that. But I foresee, I'm pretty sure Rusev is going to square off with Big Show at the next couple of pay-per-views.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I see Big Show and Mark Henry splitting ways, parting ways, because jealousy is going to become a factor. That Mark Henry is going to be jealous of the Big Show, that Big Show can do it and Mark Henry can't, in regards to Rusev.
Because you mentioned that, we'll just quickly mention that we did have a session here between the Big Show and Rusev, where Rusev came out, had some things to say, because last week on SmackDown, basically Rusev started taking out Big Show with the flagpole, almost impaling him, and then the Big Show just completely clocked him, dropped him out. So it wasn't a loss to Rusev. He's still undefeated, but he did get knocked out by the Big Show. So we did have a Big Show Rusev confrontation, back and forth action. Not much to say about that. I thought it was pretty cool. I always like to see the Big Show.
Oh yeah, Big
and
Show
I
is
feel
pretty
like
funny.
also got to point out that it's good to hear on the mic Rusev, not just Lana speaking. I thought Rusev came out as a pretty cool guy, and I think he actually won the sparring match of words here.
Well, I don't know about that, but it's good to hear him talk on the mic. Usually he uses Lana, which, by the way, showed some cleavage tonight.
I liked her outfit tonight.
Oh, yes.
I knew you would bring that up.
Oh, you did you?
To finish off on the Bo Dallas victory over Mark Henry, we should point out that after the match, Renee Young, who is very sexy, she interviewed Bo Dallas, and Mark Henry came out of nowhere to attack him. So Mark Henry didn't go down without at least getting a beating in backstage on Bo Dallas. Yeah. We'll see where Bo Dallas goes from here. I do want to briefly... well, hey, he won this one. He did get a beating by the world's strongest man, so perhaps the hospital, yes, is where he is right now. Brie Bella versus Eva Marie and Cameron. Another match, pushing divas. Don't really want to talk about this one. Yeah. Brie Bella gets the victory. Whatever. Also, the one thing I will mention is Nikki Bella came out and bitched about the same damn stuff, man. Come on, we've heard the whole song and dance. New. Nobody cares, Nikki Bella.
But in regards to the divas, I did want to talk about during the Layla Rosa match, Natalya was at ringside with her husband, and I'm pretty sure they're trying to develop the storyline that Natalya is having marital problems with her husband, and that's just stupid. I think that's kind of stupid, and wish they would win another way. But.
I agree with you, Retro Brett. Now, we're coming up on the main event, which was going to be interesting, because it was finally Dean Ambrose teaming up with John Cena to face off with Kane and Randy Orton, the Thugs of the Authority. Before the match actually happened, we did see Ambrose and Cena kind of get an argument backstage on who was going to get to beat up Seth Rollins. Interesting to mention. We'll get to that match here shortly, as first Alicia Fox defeated AJ Lee. Didn't see that one coming, and I always like Alicia Fox, who's very crazy to get a victory. I hate to brush over the Sheamus victory over Damien Mizdow, but
it deserves to be brushed over.
Exactly.
I
was going to say, we all know that this was pretty much a jobber situation for Sheamus to come out with a nice victory. Props to Hulk Hogan. He came out with a positive message with the Susan B. Coleman thing there, so that's always good. Definitely good to see wrestling backing a good cause. That's a big deal, as wrestling is for a wide audience, and this is something that everybody can get behind. Mm-hmm. Let's go ahead and finish off our Raw reactions by talking about the main event. John Cena teaming up with Dean Ambrose to take out Kane and Randy Orton. Now, the thing is, though, they won by disqualification, and we ended up seeing basically, John Cena and his pal Dean Ambrose in the fetal position. Yeah, in the fetal position, as Seth Rollins and the Authority got the last laugh. What'd you think about the ending of tonight's Raw?
I thought it was pretty bland, honestly. usually the best Raws are the Raw before a pay-per-view and Raw after. But I did notice, I don't know if anyone else noticed, when Seth Rollins curb stomped John Cena on the briefcase,
Yep,
it got
with
a
the briefcase.
huge reaction from the crowd. Obviously because it's CM Punk territory.
Well, Cena then took a RKO and a choke slam immediately following. He got his ass kicked here.
Yeah, well, I think everyone that was not authority got their ass kicked.
Did you hear the chant that was going on after the curb stomp by the crowd? The Chicago crowd, which is always ruckus.
I think they went, let's go Rollins.
Thank you, Rollins.
Thank you, Rollins.
Wow, they really don't like Cena there in Chi-Town.
Oh, no. I mean, it's CM Punk territory up there.
Anything to add to this episode? Thank you guys again for joining us for Raw Reactions. We have a lot more to cover in the world of wrestling. Not just, of course, covering Raw and the big pay-per-views, but there's a lot of wrestlers that we kind of want to do retrospectives about and put under the microscope. Even John Cena himself, I think he does deserve for us to pay homage. Retro Brett, we have to get together and maybe talk about some of his best matches up to date. But did anything happen in this at the end of the Raw that you want to point out here as we take it out for another great episode?
The only thing we didn't touch on was the Slater Gator match with Los Matadores. And
that was a terrible. Oh my goodness! The alligator versus
the baby
the
gator,
bull.
which was Hornswoggle. Yeah, it was kind of interesting, but no, not really.
Not interesting. Oh man, they got to stop with those silly segments. They have so many good fighters, so much good talent for them to really come out with some great storylines, and I think they're doing it here with Dean Ambrose. He disappeared for a while, and now he's back and better than ever.
Pretty much tonight was all about Dean Ambrose.
Unfortunately, it didn't turn out too good for him at the end there, but he can take the pain, and I think he's about to bring the pain. Because if you look at the Hell in a Cell poster, our next upcoming pay-per-view, that poster has none other than Dean Ambrose. So is that his time? I hope so. I'm a huge Dean Ambrose fan. And Roman Reigns, my true favorite wrestler, has been knocked out. I look for Dean Ambrose to take over.
Next best thing.
Thanks again for joining us, guys. Make sure to stay tuned for our next episode of Raw Reactions, which will drop next Tuesday morning, immediately following Raw. I'm RJ for Retro Brett. Stay tuned. More importantly, stay trippy. Peace out, guys.
Have a good night, fellas.